point.
Actually, I have a comment. If you go to a sheriff, you can't ask him to arrest unless you show him the evidence. Now, what you can do is you can go to a sheriff. Now, keep in mind the hierarchical structure of superiority here. When you as a private citizen, you go into, or you and a group go in to see the sheriff, and you say to the sheriff, we have evidence that John Doe, Richard Rowe, and Jane Blow all committed criminal acts. We are going to place them under arrest, and we are requesting of you to provide the officers necessary to take those persons into custody and transport them in accordance with the law, which means take them to a magistrate judge. Now, that's what you have the authority to do, and that is the way it should be handled, because the sheriff at any given time in the history of a community may not know that any crimes are being committed. He may not have seen whatever you saw.
But, right, but we're talking about Maricopa County, the Board of County Supervisors, the crooked election that just took place. Let's keep the scenario realistic.
Okay. Then
real world time.
In that case, if I were a citizen of Maricopa County and I knew the Arizona law, and let's just say for the sake of argument it's the same as Georgia law.
Yes, sir.
Then I would go to the sheriff. Well, I would first try to get 5 or 10 men or women to go with me, preferably all prior military, so they've got some combat training, and go to the sheriff and say, we're placing this Board of Election Supervisors under arrest, and we're charging them with violation of Arizona Code, blah, 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 and we request that you have your officers on site in sufficient number to take these people into custody and transport them for a probable cause hearing before a judge. It's just that simple. Now, here comes the complex part. What if the sheriff says, well, you're crazy as hell. I ain't going to provide officers to take custody of people. Them's good, upstanding citizens. Well, right there.
Probably his buddies.
Well, yeah, you and I both know that to be a fact. They are buddies.
Can I jump in?
But then that's where you place the sheriff under arrest. Yeah, I'll yield.
Thank you, Paul. That's the punchline. That's where it's got to go. We got to talk about it all gets down to force, and the sheriff controls the force for the county. And further, into confrontations, you're talking about Michael on the front steps or something. The most powerful offices in the land is a general jurisdiction judicial office. Okay, that sheriffs in old common law, sheriffs also had the judicial power, and they ran the county court, the Shire court. The Shire is the county, but under modern impressions, the sheriff does not exercise any judicial power. He's just an executive officer. And there's Oregon and other statutes that indicate that when a judicial officer has a case before his court, and this would apply in one of the precincts in Maricopa County. Thank you for clarifying that for me in my notes. When if you've got somebody that can posture, that knows a little bit of the language of the law, assume temporarily the general jurisdiction judicial office of either one of the precincts for the justice of the peace or even for the county court, the county judge. Either one of those vacant offices could be assumed temporarily, if you'll follow me here a moment. And at that point, on the front steps, when the sheriff and his deputies are confronting you, or in the court session, in the commissioners' meeting, when they're confronting you, if your point man, your judicial officer, declares that he's got a sworn criminal complaint before his court, and in his judgment, that sworn criminal complaint establishes, quote, probable cause to form the belief that a crime has been committed, unquote, and thereunder a warrant of arrest is justified in issuing. It is warranted. Warrant is warranted there and justified. There, at that point, the whole scenario turns. Okay, because the Oregon statutes and other statutes declare clearly that the judicial officers, when they've got a case like that before their court, they've got the authority to command the obedience of every person connected in a case, in any matter to the case before them, in every matter appertaining thereto. Okay, this is how it works. This is the sovereignty down at the precinct level in the 100 courts that our entire constitutional system is built upon. And if you send them letters up front asking them about these things, like I've done in my constructive notice of treason document that's right here, and the self-governing communities document, those two documents that I've been talking about before, if those were placed in front of the Maricopa County Commissioners and the Maricopa County Sheriff, the foundation would be laid to pull something precisely like this off and move forward with it. We've got the moral high ground and the legal high ground, and Paul's 40% or 60% there would reverse in our favor. And sheriffs and cops, they're peer pressure sensitive. They'll only do things when it is clear that they have some kind of color of legitimacy. When you take all of that away from them, then the cops are going to stand back and let you and your constable peace officers take control of the room. Yeah, I yield.